Ladies, do you feel like you have to be on all the time? Like the minute you stop pushing, everything is going to fall apart? Well, this is a mindset that will take you out of your feminine energy. We're going to talk all about femininity for high achieving women, how to get over the challenges, and how to really lean in. Welcome to the secret formula of femininity for women who want to live a more feminine, fun, and fabulous life. I'm Dr. Nicole Montero, your host on this weekly journey to unlocking your inner radiance, nurturing fulfilling relationships, and becoming the best version of yourself. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I'm Dr. Nicole, your guide on this journey to tapping into your feminine essence. So let's talk about femininity and the high achieving woman, right? High achievers, I'm one of them. We are praised for our discipline, our ambition, our ability to get things done, right? We get validated for that. And what that does is it can lead to an imbalance because we feel like there's no validation, no praise, no support for us in our soft feminine mode. But here's the truth, that constant hustle, grind, getting things done, being on point, structured all the time, that takes us away from our nature, from our essence as feminine women and being able to tap into our feminine energy. That can do so many things. It can leave us exhausted. It can leave us feeling disconnected. It can also lead to us feeling lonely, like we aren't in equal reciprocal relationships or friendships. And then when it comes to love, it feels like we're out of sync with the type of man that we actually want. So today we're going to talk about how to relax into your femininity as a high achieving, ambitious woman. Yes, it's possible. You can do it, but it takes some reprogramming and thinking about things differently. We're going to talk about why it feels so hard to slow down, the surprising power of softness, and how you can balance your success with ease. All right, your femininity is not about doing less, it's really about being more. And more than that, being true to your essence as a feminine woman. So we're going to dive in. But first, I want to take a moment to say thank you to all of you all, the listeners, the viewers, the subscribers, the followers, those of you who comment, those of you who watch from the background, everyone who has supported me, but not just me, all of us on this movement of the secret formula of femininity. I cannot believe we have gotten this far into season one. And in just a couple of weeks, I have so many surprises because we're starting season two. I've learned so much about what you want to hear about, the experts you want to hear from, the insights you want to hear from me. So I just want to say thank you and stay tuned. Season two is coming up and it's going to be even better. So let's dig in. All right, you know it's always about a story. And this one is about another coaching client, someone who is in one of my coaching programs. And I'm going to call her Jasmine. Oh my God, Jasmine is an amazing woman. She was a corporate executive at the time that we started working together. She ran a team of 50 people. She was one of those women. I was just in awe of her. Like, she's so articulate, so confident, so influential, so able to lead people. She was making well over six figures, so she felt good with that part of her career. However, she was always on the go, and it was starting to chip away at her. She was a master of control, right? You don't get to that level of success without being disciplined, controlled. She was controlled at work, in her finances, but she was also controlled in her relationships. And that's where she started to feel like things were not in harmony or aligned with where she wanted to go. She came to me when she finally came to me, she was exhausted. She was like, I don't know how to stop. I don't know how to be in a relationship without feeling like I have to lead. And that does one of two things. It attracts people that I don't really want to be with. They're not my ideal mates in terms of qualities and their masculinity, but it if I do get in a relationship, it pushes the person away because it looks like I come off as over controlling and I don't know when to stop. And I just loved her honesty and transparency because she was able to finally see that she had to separate out the way she showed up at work with how she showed up in other areas of her life, and including for herself. Her breakthrough moment came when she realized she had spent so much time, almost from, when she was a child and teenager and throughout her adolescent years, proving her strength. She felt like she was always in proving mode and not just proving anything. She had to prove how strong she was. She forgot that she was already worthy. And I call this the fallacy of the strong superwoman. And in Jasmine's case, and this is with a lot of the women I work with, the fallacy of the strong Black woman. She felt she was living out strong woman, Black girl magic, all this stuff, but it was taking a toll on her. She wanted to learn to practice being softer. And we worked on how to let her receive, be in more in a mode of receiving, how to prioritize rest, true rest, it's not just about sleep, but true restorative, regenerative rest, and how to truly feel at ease with and embrace her femininity beyond just the words, but to really do it without guilt. Guess what happened after we worked on this, after we worked on her mindset, after she put into place certain practices? Not only did she see changes in her friendships and the relationships that she could envision for herself, her performance with her team improved. Now, she was already on point. She was always already great, but she was exhausted and it was starting to affect things. She saw her performance improve, her relationships deepened because she was able to lean in without having to wear the mask all the time. And she felt at peace for the first time in years. She was inviting ease, she was at peace, and she was feeling like she was open to the kind of relationship that she really saw for herself in the future. So let's look a little deeper. Let's look at what was going on with Jasmine and how she got from point A, which was not so good for her. It looked good on the outside, but not in terms of how she felt, to point B, where it all came together and she felt aligned within herself. And it had a lot to do with masculine and feminine energy. We have to really understand this. We all have both masculine and feminine energy. And I've said this before, there's nothing wrong with you having your masculine energy, understanding it, knowing how to operate within it, but it has to be balanced and you have to know when to use it. It's almost like it's a tool, a very powerful tool that you don't want to overuse and deplete yourself. And also, that saying, when you only have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Well, that's what happens when you are only operating in your masculine energy. You're not able to see the areas where you can lean into your softness and really embrace the power of your femininity. So, masculine energy is more about doing. If we're just to simplify it, doing. It's about your logic, your structure, being disciplined, that drive that propels you forward. And on the other end is feminine energy, just to put it simply. It's more about being. You hear me talk so much about the power of being more. It's about being in flow, tapping into your intuition, being able to receive. We call it a state of receptivity, and really being present, not so much forward focused, driven, but really leaning into the now and the power of accepting and embracing that. So ambitious women naturally they have to tap into that structure, that discipline, that drive. The masculinity is part of what the society rewards as success. Now there are many different versions or levels or types of success. So you really have to understand what's aligned with you. What do you truly want? But the external type of success that society, applauds, which is the money, the positions, the power, the outward displays of achievement, these are more rooted in your masculine energy. But what happens is when we only focus on those, we don't validate or value other forms of success, like being a good spouse, being a good parent, being a good nurturer, being someone who is able to be in tune with yourself, being someone who is able to choose an aligned life and define success for yourself, being someone who's able to operate in her vulnerability but still be resilient. These are all, for me, definitions of success, but they're not outwardly praised all the time. So a lot of women can lose sight of why it's valuable or important to be in tune with that. And if we never learn to balance our femininity, we start to feel out of tune. I use the word tune a lot because if you think about a car, it needs a tune up so that the different parts, the cables and the hoses and all the different things, they have to work well and be connected well. So when we're not in tune with our femininity, we're out of balance. We end up feeling disconnected from ourselves, from our partners, and even from our own happiness because it's hard for us to just be. The people that are always looking for the next thing, you could tell them that they made top partner in the law firm, then the happiness lasts for like 5 minutes, and then they're looking at, okay, how to get, to the next stage, or how to be the number one partner, or how to do X, Y, and Z. And there's never an ability to embrace and enjoy what just the pleasure of that achievement, or just the pleasure of being in the now. So it can feel like we're disconnected from our happiness when we're only operating in our masculine. So all of these words sound great, but at the end of the day, it can be really hard for high achieving women to relax into and lean into their femininity. There are several reasons that I have observed over the years of working with high achievers. The number one I would say is fear of losing control. And you may have heard that achievement is a trauma response. It's a response to, in some ways, not feeling worthy just in and of itself, just because you exist. So early on, so many got the message that to be worthy, they had to achieve, they had to strive, they had to get all of these external praises and accolades, and that was how they would prove their worth. And once you get on that hamster wheel or that roller coaster of proving your worth just through your productivity and your achievements, it's hard to get off. And you start to value being in control, controlling the things that will get you those achievements. And so we tend to feel like anything that takes us out of a mode of being in control is detrimental, that it's going to somehow threaten our worth. Like that's the underlying unconscious, fear that we have. So a lot of women will fear losing control. They think that slowing down means that they're behind. And what does behind mean? Again, it means that your self worth is at risk, and nobody wants to feel that. So they just get back on the hamster wheel. Another barrier that a lot of high achievers experience is hyper independence. High achieving women have been taught to do everything on their own. It's that it's hard for them to delegate. And this is a difference that I see a lot between successful men and some successful women, is that a lot of times men, because of them being more naturally in their masculine, they're okay with delegating out. But what I see with a lot of high achieving women is there's this hyper independence. They are under the illusion that the hyper independence is what has led to their success. So they feel like they have always done things on their own, and they will continue to. They feel like that's the golden secret that they have, is being overly independent. The other thing, and this came up in one of the meetings, the live coaching sessions for my inner circle coaching community, is we talked about hyper independence as a self protective defense mechanism. It's a way to protect yourself from rejection. Somewhere a while ago, the little girl got the message that if she asked for something, she would be told no, and that would really sting. It would make her feel somehow unworthy, not enough. So she started to operate in hyper independence, which was, hey, I am not going to ask anybody. I'm not going to risk being told no. I'm not going to risk being rejected and being made to feel like I'm not enough or that I'm isolated or I'm not worthy. And so that hyper independence just becomes a way of doing things. The third thing that I see happening with a lot of high achieving women that gets in the way of them resting in their femininity is they feel guilty for resting. The R word sounds like a really bad word, rest. They feel like rest is the opposite of what's valuable. So for them, what's valuable is productivity, being on the go, doing, looking towards the next thing. And rest feels like something that gets in the way of that. So, of course, they will sleep. We all know we're humans, we can't operate without sleep. But truly resting your mind, resting your body, even outside of sleep, they feel guilty for it if they don't understand the true value of it. And there's so much research that is coming out about how rest, even for when you're working out, you're not going to get the real benefits of any resistance training, muscle building, even cardio exercise if you're just going. The real growth is in the rest and the recovery. Talk to any trainer or coach. You have to eat right, it's the nutrition, but it's also the rest. And that goes outside of the, working out and trying to transform your body. Your mind needs rest. Your relationships needs for you to be in a state of rest. Think about it. If you are always going, your mind is always wound up, your body is wound up, you are not able to enjoy where you are right now. It's not a great existence to be in. You will feel exhausted. I've talked to women that said, what I do all day, I'm literally sitting down. I'm not expending any energy in terms of like being walking around, but I feel exhausted. That's because they are not embracing rest. They're not really experiencing mental rest, nor are they experiencing physical rest and or spiritual rest, emotional rest, right? Rest is simply learning to not have to do anything. It's learning to do the things that are going to make you feel relaxed. That could be sleeping, that could be laying down, that could be leisurely activities, that could be meditation, that could be deep breathing, that could be slow, joyful cooking, but cooking because it's something that is enjoyable for you in the moment, not running around cooking and hurrying up and finishing it, right? So, rest is more like a state of mind. Yes, it's resting your body, but it's also resting your mind and being in the state of mind that allows you to be relaxed. The other thing that I see with a lot of high achieving women that can be confusing for them is strained relationships. Now, a lot of women who are really in their masculine without knowing it, they don't understand how they are bringing that masculine energy into their love lives. They can clash with a more masculine partner. It's like clash of the titans, alpha versus alpha, who's going to truly lead. It can be difficulty transitioning from that leadership mode that they might be in their corporate setting to really being able to fall back and be receptive. And it leads to frustration because they may often wonder, why is my man not stepping up? Why is he not leading? But they're not understanding the role that they play in it, right? Sometimes we unconsciously choose people who are not ready to be in a position of leadership because we don't want to fall back a little bit. And in other cases, once we experience what it takes, that sometimes you have to give you, not sometimes, but you have to relinquish control in order to allow someone else to lead and to not be overly independent, hyper independent. And we don't realize how that can impact the relationship. So we get overly in our masculine without knowing it. And we wonder why our romantic relationships are strained. So it's the fear of losing control, the hyper independence, feeling guilty for resting, and not realizing how the masculine energy is straining the relationships. Now, I want you to just pause and ask yourself if you recognize yourself in any of these characteristics or behaviors that I described. And if so, you are absolutely not alone. Like I said, these are the women that I work with daily. Um, and what I love about a high achieving woman is she wants to find a different way, right? Once the pain of this imbalance becomes so great, she is ready to find another way of being. The good news is you can actually start to shift those patterns. You're not alone, but you can also shift those patterns. Let's talk about some of the research, right? The downfall of constantly being in masculine go mode, hyper independent mode, is that it affects our bodies. There's a really great book that I read years ago called Woman Code, and it talks about just our bodies, our mental state, our emotional state. We are different from men. We operate on a hormonal cycle. We have different phases of our lives where our hormones change, what our bodies need changes. We go through things like menstruation and childbirth, many of us, pregnancy, and just changes in our body. Our bodies are very sensitive to our mental and emotional states, as well as what we're actually doing. So, constantly sitting, not moving our bodies, not nourishing with nutrition. And the other thing is operating under constant stress. What this does is it releases a lot of cortisol, which is the stress hormone. We need the cortisol when we are under threat. So when it's time to have to get out of a threatening situation, that cortisol along with the adrenaline are really, really helpful. But if this is happening constantly, we're producing cortisol. When we're not sleeping, we're producing cortisol because our body feels like we're under threat. When we're starving ourselves and not eating well, when we're constantly worried, right? Worry is a form of stress and threat perceived by the body. And so that stress is going to lead to anxiety, burnout, and even relationship disconnection because you end up feeling like you don't have the energy to pour into or engage in the relationship. It's the last thing you want to do. You don't want to talk to him, you don't want to hear what he has to say, and you certainly a lot of times don't even feel like being intimate. So it is a state of high alert, high stress, driven by stress hormones, other hormonal imbalances that is really connected to not being in your feminine. Now, when women learn to do the opposite of go, 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 when they learn to embrace rest, pleasure, invite ease, and accept ease, they actually transform their bodies. They start to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. So within our nervous system, we have the central nervous system and the autonomic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system operates just automatically in response to stimuli, things in our environment and our mind state and so forth. The sympathetic nervous system is when we're under stress. It's ready to go, it's ready to fight for us. The parasympathetic nervous system is the opposite. It is what's activated when we're in a state of calm. It brings us back down. And the crazy thing is, the body loves balance, or what we call homeostasis. The body loves being in balance. So when you're hype, 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 it has a system in place, the parasympathetic nervous system, to bring you down and get into more calm and relaxation. And the great thing is we can activate it. We don't have to wait to be hype and then have, hopefully the parasympathetic nervous system will come in and get us, more relaxed. We can actually activate it through things like relaxation techniques, deep breathing, meditation, prayer, allowing yourself to slow down. Uh, there are some things, and you hear a lot of people talk about regulating the nervous system. Well, this is what it's about. It's learning to get your nervous system out of a stress, trauma like response and bring it more to a state of balance. And so the crazy thing is, our femininity brings us back to this. When we're in a state of receptivity, meaning receiving, that means we're getting help. We're not in hyper independence. So we are more calm. We're not stressing ourselves out. When we're more in tune to our with our intuition, we're able to know what our bodies need. We're able to understand even our hormonal state, or where we are in our 28-day hormonal cycle. So our femininity is a protective mode for us as women. We also experience deeper attraction. People are deeply attracted to our calm and groundedness. Do you notice that, right? What kind of, think about it, right? When you are hyped, like, I know the women that are drawn to me a lot of times are more in their masculine. It's because they're looking for that opposite. They're looking for that. They can recognize that calming presence and they really, really crave it. And my role is to help them to cultivate that within themselves. So they don't always have to, they'll still be attracted to other like minded women, but they're not looking for it because they don't have it within themselves. And this just brings you to a higher overall level of well being. Balance is the key to well being. So, my motto is stop being a one trick pony. A one trick pony is the high achieving, ambitious woman who only knows how to manipulate and cultivate in her or operate in her masculine energy. She only has one tool. So let's talk about, how do you actually continue to cultivate this femininity once you have that mindset click, or you're ready to make that mindset shift, then what do you do to actually help you to be more in tune with your femininity? The key is to know that this does not take away from your ability, your ambition, your ability to do the things that you want in life. If you're a very highly intelligent woman, you're curious, you want intellectual stimulation. You desire to learn about things. Cultivating and relaxing into your femininity doesn't take away from that at all. So you have to stop thinking it's either or. Either I'm always in masculine mode, that's the only way that I can continue to be curious and ambitious. No, they're not mutually exclusive. One is to cultivate your receiving energy. You'll hear me say receptivity, receiving energy. Start saying yes to support. If somebody wants to help you, even in a small way, you can start. I've started always, whenever anybody wants to do something for me, it's like, oh, well, thank you very much. We get so accustomed to saying, oh, no, 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 I'll take care of it. Pause, the power of the pause, and allow someone, say yes to that support. It could be receiving help, yes. It could also be receiving a compliment. Stop turning down compliments, minimizing it. Oh, that this old thing, or I got that on sale, or oh, like, stop being feigning shyness and modesty when it comes to compliments. Receive them with confidence because you deserve the compliment, right? Also, you have to practice letting men lead. And a lot of women get angry at me for saying this, right? We are just, everything is about, oh, men are bad, women are good. No, let men lead. Let them step into their masculine power. We say we want it, but then it's hard for us to put it into practice. One thing, one of the women in my inner circle community talked about how when she observed her husband doing something, she was practicing. It was taking everything in her to not kind of turn up her nose and be like, why would you do it like that? That makes no sense whatsoever. And what we talked about is everyone has different ways of doing things. Our brains all work in different ways. So just because you do something one way, that doesn't mean it's the end all and be all. And then what message are you sending when you're constantly, putting down, criticizing, or critiquing how he's doing it? What you're saying is, I don't trust your leadership. I don't trust how you're doing things when it's simply two different ways of doing things, right? So you have to practice being in a receiving mode. And part of that is practice allowing men to lead. Now, people say, well, what if they're leading you nowhere? Well, why would you choose to be with someone who you don't trust their leadership? That's more of a question for you, right? The other thing is create space for play and pleasure. Just doing things for the joy of it. Not every moment or not most moments have to be productive. Like, all right, here's my to do list. Okay, what's next? Okay, I have a half hour. Let me clean this up. Let me do this. Are you reading a fun book? Are you allowing yourselves? When I did my feminine energy challenge, it's like take 30 minutes a day and just sit back and put your feet up. Sit back. I love just sitting in my chair and just daydreaming. Watch your favorite show, read a book. I'm reading this book that's so good, Daughters of Arabia. Now, I love reading personal development books and things like that, but no, I love also my fun novels, not something too deep. It is kind of based on a true story about certain princesses in the Saudi royal family, but it's like intriguing and it's just, oh, it is so, so delicious, right? Allow yourself to indulge in deliciousness, things that stimulate the senses and make you feel good and that are pleasurable, right? And there's no reason to have to do it. Now, I remember I would hear so many people quote this Audre Lorde quote that said, self care is like an act of rebellion, is revolutionary, and all of this stuff. And I get that, but I always push back and I was like, when do we get to just do things for the pleasure of them? Not because you're starting a revolution or you're fighting all of these systems. Like you get to do it for the pleasure of it. And that is when you know you're truly in your feminine. All right. The other thing is learn to embody sensuality and presence. Look at the textures of the clothes, the fabrics that you're wearing. Make your Pinterest boards and pick some cool colors and fabrics and designs, right? Get some nice scents, whether it's perfume or oil or house. I love my Pura, the oil thing, and it you can control it with an app on your phone and it scents your house in their healthy scents. I love my incense, hot bath. When it comes to cooking, yesterday is funny when I was cooking because we have guests visiting exchange students. When I was cooking yesterday, I was making rice for them and I put a little turmeric, just not even for the taste, but just to give it a yellow color. And my daughter was like, "Mommy, is this the same rice?" I said, "Yeah, we're just doing this. We're trying to make the color nice." I put a bay leaf in there. So, that mixed with the turmeric and then the other garnish I had was like the tomatoes and the fresh parsley. Like all of this adds to the presence. And it's weird to say this is the sensuality of food, but it truly is because you're enjoying all of the senses of it. It even goes down to the plates that you eat on. We don't do the paper plates. And I know some people say, oh, well, it's easier to do that or whatever. No. Well, we certainly don't do styrofoam. That's not good for the environment. But I'm not doing paper plates. We eat on dishes. We make the table. We have the table look nice, right? All of these things about your environment, they also push you to slow down because you can't just sit somewhere and gulp your food down, right? You have to make it pretty. You have to make it smell good, taste good, and so forth. And it can even be the music that you listen to. Have some relaxing sounds. Um, if we were to really get deep, right, when you're too much listening to aggressive, harsh, bass heavy type music, you need to balance that out. Get some strings, some instrumental music, some calming music. Why do you think they have certain music when you go to a spa or to get a massage? It really relaxes you. So you have to really be mindful of everything that you're taking in. If you're on your femininity journey, you want to even watch the music that you take in, the media that you take in, a whole bunch of like fighting and harsh media. You want to be mindful of that. It can really put your nervous system into a state of heightened alert. All right. So you can start some really simple things that can help you to shift in your mindset and in your practice. One is wake up 5 minutes earlier, just 5 minutes earlier, so you can be start your day off more slowly. 5 minutes of deep breathing, 5 minutes of stretching, 5 minutes of journaling if you want to, right? And then on the other end of your day, if you work outside the home or if you at the end of your day, whatever the middle of your day looks like, towards the end of your day, when you get home or you're shifting out of whatever you were doing, transition, change into something softer, light a candle or dim the lights, play some sort of soothing music, do something that signals that I'm transitioning into a restful end of my day. And you can do, people tell me, well, what if you have small kids? You have to start training your kids. Now, of course, depending if you have kids or if you have pets or depending on your living situation, it may not always be this solitude, restful environment, but you have to make it that, right? You have to set up boundaries where people know at a certain time, I'm in my room. This is what I'm doing. I need 5 minutes. I need 10 minutes. You change your clothes, you take a deep breath. You need to set the stage for transitioning into the latter half of your day, which is leading you into the restful mode at night. Now, here's a mindset shift one. Instead of trying to fix everything, practice just listening and not being the savior, not coming up with solutions. Just listen and be present in conversations. You don't always, I stopped doing that. Like, even when I knew a lot of times I might have a suggestion that could work for somebody, I had to tap into myself and say, you know what, maybe this person just wanted to share. They didn't want a solution, they didn't want a suggestion. Now, if they ask me, great. Or if I feel compelled, I might say, you know, I hear what you're saying. Would you like some suggestions from me or you just need me to listen, right? But just stop yourself from automatically running and trying to fix everything and being this savior. And then finally, this is another mindset one. Remind yourself that your softness is a strength. See, a woman's hardness is her protection. It's a demonstration of her wounds that she still has not healed from. But as she heals, she leans into her more natural state, which is her softness. So that can be a measure. Like if you're constantly responding things in a harsh way, you're in defense mode, you're not open, you're rejecting everything that everyone says. That's a sign that you still have some healing to do. All right, let's get to the question that I have. I love this one. So, one of the listeners said, how do I stay in my feminine while leading a team at work? Ooh, I love it. This is a great question. The key is energetic shifts, right? Remember, I said it's a mindset shift. If we go even deeper, if you walk in knowing that you are operating in your feminine, it's an energetic shift. You can lead with confidence. We should always, that is very attractive, but it doesn't have to be harsh confidence. Even if you look in business schools, they're teaching soft skills, how a good leader embodies soft skills. A manager is not just there to lay down the law, but to really relate to the people that on his team. So you want to lead with confidence, but especially when you step into your personal life, you want to consciously soften up, especially if you've been all the time in your masculine. It's going to take being intentional and being very conscientious about that. Drop the CEO boss chick mode, right? Lean into your playfulness, your receiving mode, being emotionally connected. And in order to have the energy to do that, you're going to have to decide, right? Like if you are tired of being in masculine mode, you're going to have to delegate some things out. You're going to have to be conscious about certain things you take off your plate. and about just being more intentionally present, but it is certainly an energetic shift. All right. Thank you so much for joining this episode. And if this spoke to you, don't forget to share, like, give us a follow, subscribe if you're on YouTube. Also, leave me a comment. That really helps me to know that this is resonating with you. I get to tell me, ask me any question, let me know what you want me to speak to further. I also invite you to explore the Boundaries to Bliss Society, my inner circle membership for women who really want to learn to develop healthy boundaries, tap into their feminine energy, and maintain and attract healthy, fulfilling relationships. You'll see the link in the show notes. And of course, my book, The Boundaries to Bliss Blueprint for Women Who Are Finally Ready to Win at Love. You can get it at the link in the show notes. And you can also get the Damsel Me Please 30-day journal and t-shirt. All of these are going to help with your mindset and energetic shift to really leaning into your femininity as a high achieving, ambitious woman. Make sure you share this with a sister who needs to hear it. Until next time, keep embracing your soft, feminine, beautiful self. I'm Dr. Nicole.